Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our next presentation in our SARE Consumer Survey Study project. Today, we're going to be talking about adapting your market for today's consumers. As it is noon, we will go ahead and get started. I'm sure we'll have a few people joining us as we go along, but we want to keep on our time frame. So today's speaker is Laura Biasillo. Laura is the Agricultural Economic Development Specialist with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Broome County, and it's a position she has held since August of 2007. In this position, she works with new and beginning farmers, farms looking to scale up for wholesale, food safety training and technical assistance, land access, and veterans. She also sits on the board of directors for the Farmers Market Federation of New York and works on many of our projects such as FMM Pro, which is our Farmers Market Managers Certification Program, and the Northeast SARE Toolkit Project. She has 3 young children, and her free time she trains for marathons. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, well, actually, before I turn it over, let me tell you that you all are in listen-only mode. We are going to keep you that way so that we don't have any background noise to interrupt our speaker. But we do want to hear your questions, so please type them into the question tab on your GoToWebinar control panel, and I will be reading off the questions so that everyone can hear the questions and Laura can answer them for everyone to hear. And now with that, I'm going to turn it over to Laura.
Great, thank you, Diane. Thanks to all of you joining us today on this sunny Monday. I'm certain with everything going on that there's a little bit of controlled chaos happening in your workplace if it's anything like mine, but we thank you for taking the time today to be with us and listen to the information we'll be talking about. So the information that we'll be talking about is based on some work that was done through Northeast SARE in partnership with NOFA Vermont, Maryland Farmers Market Association, the University of Maryland Extension, Community Involved in Sustaining Agriculture, the Farmers Market Federation of New York, and Cornell Cooperative Extension of Broome County. And really what this work focuses on is tactics for reversing the downward trend at farmers markets. These come from a 116-page toolkit and report. This was based on an extensive consumer survey. And the survey, report, and toolkit all were made possible through a generous grant by Northeast SARE. So the presentation is really just one of many resources from this project. As we said, this is really just a small snippet. Find the entire toolkit and report at this website that you see on your screen right now, nyfarmersmarket.com/SARE-survey. And what you know about that is that the toolkit is completely free. We just need you to register so that we know how many people are utilizing the resource. And as well, we do want to let everyone know that every of the toolkit and information that we'll be talking about today is just a jumping off point. It is not the be all and end all. You really want to look at what applies best to your market. So we wanted to talk a little bit about how this toolkit came to be. And so back in 2017 and 2018, the Farmers Market Federation of New York was really hearing from a lot of farmers market vendors that sales were down, attendance records were down, and because of this, farmer sales were decreasing. Many markets, not just in New York State, but across the nation, were seeing this same downward trend, but nobody could really put their finger on why that was. And so, the drops that we were hearing in terms of sales were everything from 35% to as much as 70%. Many vendors were of the perception they may not be able to continue another year if the trends continued in this way. So, everyone had their theories, but weren't exactly sure of why. So we wanted to do some research to be able to figure this out. So together with CCE, Vermont, Western Massachusetts, and Maryland, we created a consumer survey with the goal really to learn what consumers felt about buying local, shopping venues, and in particular farmers markets. And this was all made possible through a grant from Northeast SARE. In July 2018, we released the consumer survey. So as you can see on the map on your screen, the colored states are the ones who participated in the survey design. Our goal was 500 responses per state from a period of June to September 2018. In the end, we received over 100 responses, and that included responses from regular market shoppers, who we then thought of as market flag bearers, infrequent market shoppers or casual market shoppers, and non-market shoppers. And those who participated in the survey also included a broad range of consumer demographics. This crossed age, income level, urban versus rural, and to a smaller degree, race and ethnicity. We worked with Cornell's Dyson School of Applied Economics to compile and analyze the survey responses. So when we look at what the survey told us, there was really 10 key insights. And so some of these were not surprising, and others definitely gave us some food for thought. The first being that local food is valued by types of consumer groups. This does not come to a surprise that local food is valued. The one thing that was of a surprise is that not all those groups really could agree on where to find that local food. Next one is convenience. We all know this. It's really important, especially to those casual and non-market shoppers, not the ones that will be there no matter what. They want that one-stop shopping. They are looking for a shopping venue that fits their schedule, whether it's a particular day, specific hours, or 24/7. Next is that customer service still matters. Customers want to feel important. They want to feel seen and appreciated and valued wherever they shop, and they expect that great customer service. As well, we want to think about this fact that, pricing is important. There is still a perception that farmers markets are seen as being more expensive than other food outlets. And so that's something that the toolkit looks at, as well as this idea that pricing should always be displayed. Customers want to know what things cost and how they're being valued, so that way they can make those price comparisons and they don't have to be asking those questions. Choice is very important. Customers are looking for that diversity of items. They're looking for diversity of farms, so that they have a choice in not only what they're purchasing, but how it's being purchased. Finally, we're looking at those farmer-consumer relationships. And so many of us have always hung our hat on the Know Your Farmer message, but actually we found out through the survey that it was not always a motivating factor in choosing to shop at a farmer's market. This gets back to our first key insight, that local food is, but not necessarily the venue that it's coming through. Number 8, many people are intimidated by farmers. They don't always want to be shopping with that face-to-face. They feel uncomfortable talking to farmers. They perhaps don't want to appear stupid or not know anything about agriculture. Or finally, they worry that if they start that conversation with a farmer, that they'll perhaps be pressured into purchasing something. Number 9, belief that markets should be environmental stewards. Many customers still believe that vendors at market should be stewards of the environment. And so this primarily plays out in packaging and also bags and how kind of product comes out of the market. And then finally, this idea that customers want to feel like a VIP. They want to have a pleasant experience, and they want to really feel like they are really that most important person that is there. So the one thing that we do want to really just stress is that this toolkit is meant to help you overcome some hurdles through creative solutions and ideas. There's tons of case studies and examples that we'll be talking about today, as well as included in the toolkit. But this is just a snapshot of one piece of the toolkit. And so just a reminder that you can go and download the full toolkit by visiting nyfarmersmarket.com. So The first piece that we want to talk about is this idea of meeting customer needs. So as we said, one of those key insights was, every customer wants to feel like a VIP. For those casual market shoppers who, are not the diehards, they want the market to really take place at a convenient time and location for their lifestyle. They want to be able to purchase all their necessary items for the week in one location. They want to be in and out quickly. And finally, they want to feel like a VIP every time they visit that farmer's market. But when we start thinking about a farmer's market, how do they compete with a grocery store that brands themselves with local products, but then also has coffee, toothpaste, and a pharmacy? So one solution that came out through the toolkit is thinking about how do we match market days and hours to that community availability. If we want to convert that casual shopper to a flag bearer, we want to think about what drives their purchasing habits. And so in order to better understand that, we want to think about creating or conducting a DOT survey. And this is where the market manager can pose a few simple questions where market shoppers can give you information, but don't have to interact with any one person. Sometimes we found that this can give you more honest feedback. The second step could be a rapid market assessment, and that typically looks at 3 specific pieces of the market. That includes the physical characteristics of the market site. That would be things like access, the flow of traffic and people, liability issues, and the organization within the market. The vendors and products, so this includes things like product mix, product quality, signage, display, and customer service, and then market atmosphere. And this is just what it sounds like, the feel of the market, shopper demographics, interactions and conversations, and education and community activities that happen at the market. This is a great way for you to engage with outside peers and community members in your market. And then finally, we can tie it all together by creating up to 4 open-ended questions. And you can do that. Then you can put those on easel pads with what we call garage sale or dot stickers. And then we always want to remember to seed those questions with some answers so that way nobody feels like they're the first one to answer those questions. And so some of the questions that you could think about asking would be things like, where did they come from today? How much are people spending at the farmer's market? If they saw your advertising, or what types of products they would like to see at the market. So here's an example of what someone did, and they didn't actually use the garage sale stickers, but they used Post-it notes that are very brightly colored, and so all those responses stand out. And so the questions that they asked were, what would you like to see at the market, and what else would you like to be able to buy here? Our suggestion is when you look at doing things like this to not put 2 questions on the same page, as it could get confusing understanding which question people are answering. But if you only have a certain amount of space that you can do it in, or only a certain amount of supplies, then you can of course bundle questions together. There are some costs when you're thinking about doing that survey, and those include things like money, time, and supplies. But they are very low input, and it's because we are relying on people to answer those questions for us. You may also need to think about a potential stipend for those helping to conduct that rapid market assessment if you do go that route. But this is a great way to get information from the community about potential changes for the market that you wouldn't have known about otherwise. A second solution in terms of helping customers feel like a VIP is to make the market as fun as possible, unlike what we sometimes think of as the chore of grocery shopping. So there's a few different ways to do that. The first is creating a market map, and the reason for that is because a market map will help customers know where certain vendors are located, what products they sell, and what benefits they accept. Offering carryout is another great option, especially as we're entering a situation now where we look to minimize as much hand-to-hand contact related to food as possible. So carryout could help encourage larger purchases and also assist those with mobility issues. And then working with your farmers to set aside popular items that may sell out early in the day. And this really will help go a long way towards converting that casual shopper if they know that certain items that they're looking for won't be sold out within the first hour of market opening. And typical examples for this might be those first strawberries or tomatoes of the season. Another solution might be creating a community-focused, family-friendly atmosphere. And that can be things like background music, chalk sidewalk art, walk with the dock, or a market ambassador program. And these are just some of the ideas that we came up with. So when it comes to background music, you could try to implement a busker program. That's where you would partner with your local arts council, high school or college music program, or even local musicians. It's a great opportunity for community partnerships. And if it's youth that are performing, of course, they always bring their family with them. The South Wedge Farmers Market, which is located in Rochester, New York, runs a program encouraging sidewalk chalk art. And this really helps to allow for creativity, family interactions, and something to do while the family shop. The South Wedge Farmers Market also charted out 1 mile routes that begin and end at their market. And so on certain market days, a local doctor will lead a walk and answer health questions along the way. And then finally, this is always a great opportunity to engage with your local Cornell Cooperative Extension or other land-grant university in their nutrition program. They share many of the same views on increasing consumption of fresh fruits and vegetables, and may be able to station one of their nutrition educators at your market to welcome low-income families, walk them through the market, introduce them to vendors, and even help them menu plan. Final solution is making customers feel appreciated for shopping at the market. Is what we think about maybe in terms of customer appreciation days. So these can be a great way to show your customers that you appreciate them and their support of your market and the vendors. These could include deals and specials that specific vendors run or a market giveaway. It's a great opportunity to engage with community partners for health or wellness activities. Everyone loves a free massage or blood pressure screening. So 2 examples that we wanted to just share with you were a Valentine's Day celebration. On the left, you'll see a vendor Valentine celebration at the Broome County Regional Farmers Market. At that event, customers are invited to make a Valentine at the market manager table and give it to their favorite vendor. And each vendor has a Valentine bag at their booth to receive their Valentines. There was chair massages, and then conversation hearts and Valentine's candy. And then on the right, you'll see another example. This is actually from the Old Town Market in Winchester, Virginia. And so as we can see, they had a lot of really great opportunities going on, cooking demos and children's activities, recipe swaps. And these are just all ways for customers to feel like they are a valued piece of that farmers market that they're attending on a regular basis. So here we can see some great sidewalk chalk art from the South Wedge Farmers Market. Another example of a dot survey. Here we can see what people's reasons were for coming to the market and how often they're shopping at the market. And then just a graphic demonstrating the walk with a dock that we saw are similar types of programs. And then finally, what we see here is another option for a market map. And so this is actually at the Union Square Farmers Market, but as we can see, it's color coded so that customers know what types of products that those vendors have so that they can most easily navigate to the people that they're looking for. So what I wanted to do now is just take a little bit of a break, see if anybody had any questions about that first piece that we talked about.
Yes, we do have a couple of questions.
Great.
Someone says, it seems to me that doing an in-market survey is very incomplete, especially if we're concerned about people who aren't coming due to an inconvenient timing or location. So maybe you can explain a little bit further about how we actually went about this survey and where we looked to get responses.
So I guess I'm going to assume that it's probably the DOT survey that we're talking about and not a rapid market assessment. But in general, the best way is, if you can be engaging with those people that, are situated around the farmers market. So yes, quite often if push is left to shove, then conducting a dot survey or something similar just within the farmers market will only get you input from those people that are always shopping at the farmers market. But if we operate under the assumption that the farmers market operates in a public space and there are many people moving through that public space who likely are not shopping with the farmers market, that's a great opportunity for you to engage with them and say, hey, we would really love to get your input on this farmers market, whether you currently shop here or not. And if you don't, we really want to hear from you as to why.
Okay, the person that runs the Doylestown Farmers Market wanted to comment that she's used the dot survey many times, and she says it has been very useful and customers like it much better than using the traditional written survey. Let's see, we write the questions on a poster board with 3 answers and provide large markers for them to place dots under the answer that suits them. We also have a volunteer there to encourage customers to participate. So it has been used quite extensively around the country to a lot of good success. Could you elaborate on how popular item set aside works?
So I think that's up to the individual vendors that a market manager could encourage. And so traditionally, the way that it might work is that if a vendor has a good relationship with a specific customer, they know that they're always looking for a specific type of item, but maybe that's an item that sells out earlier in the market day. Product set aside is a great way to strengthen that relationship with that customer, to show them that that vendor pays attention to what that customer is purchasing, and then that will then create word of mouth that really can't be bought any other way.
Okay, and that's the last question for now.
Great. We'll keep them coming, please. So next we want to talk about a partnership with community events. And so this is really where we think about, that traditional sunny August Saturday where your farmer's market is full of customers and those booths are overflowing with fresh produce and baked goods and cheeses and everything else. Your market probably has a very active social media presence and each week has a steady flow of shoppers. But today you see that only the diehards are there. Those are the ones that come no matter the weather, if it's a holiday week. So then you start to wonder, where is everybody? Where are those shoppers that you traditionally see on that weekend? Soon those vendors are reminding you that without these sales, money, that this is their business. And so with little information, you start to ask a few customers at the market and find out that only a few miles away, there's a festival occurring with music, heavily sponsored kids activities, giveaways, and more. Immediately, you might start to wonder how the market could not have been involved in the planning of this event. Aren't the organizers aware of when your market operates? Why couldn't they have held it at the market? As market managers, we need to understand there are only so many hours in a day and days in a week. We can all work to be good community partners, but sometimes things are out of your control. So with that being said, we want to give you a few keys to ensuring that while this might still occur, it can be a win-win for both organizations. So the first solution to this, and this is really the first key to success, is open, honest, and ongoing communications with your community partners. So if we aren't asking or talking about our special events with those in the community, then how should anyone be expected to know about it? Having a seat at the table means being involved with key community groups that will help ensure that they are at least aware of your market's location, days, and hours of operation when they are planning their own events. Conversely, as market managers, we are likely not aware of all other events occurring in our community, so this will also help us with promotion. The second solution is keeping an eye on social media. So, if your market is on social media, make sure to like or follow other organizations in your community that may appeal to the same audiences as you do. This will help keep you up to date on potential events that might compete with customers attending your farmers market. And then you'll at least have the opportunity to remind these organizations of your market so they could potentially reschedule or use the tactics we'll be discussing next. So when we think about getting to the point of an event is going to happen, how do we make sure that it's going to be the win-win for everybody? What we start to think about is leveraging each other's events. So there are two options when we come to this. The first is cross-promotion of the market and the event. And this is really because when we think about the height of farmers market season, bounty of products and customers looking to attend a market, this is also when community organizations look like to host events. The worst case scenario is when a large scale community event takes place on the same day at the same time, perhaps even in close proximity to your market. So the first option is cross promotion. This is a great way to encourage new customers at your market. Word of mouth being one of the most trusted forms of marketing, it could be the reason that new customers visit the market. You can offer to hand out materials for the event at your market and vice versa. And then creating an event on social media and making sure that each other co-hosts to cross-promote. Another option, depending on space at your market, is integration of the event into your market. You want to consider if the market is available to other amenities. This includes parking, electricity, trash pickup, etc. But it's the holy grail for community organizations because of the audience and community trust that a farmers market has. But, and we stress but, it should be a partnership in planning, outreach, and marketing, implementation, and cleanup. And finally, if we are thinking about integration, there are some things to consider. The first is how it fits with the market's mission and typical audience. If there's space availability, what the benefit to the vendors is, and then what the potential risk or liability potential is. So there are always going to be some potential costs. Planning for these types of events takes time and money. You'll want to conduct a cost-benefit analysis with your time to understand the potential value of the event versus where your time could be spent in other aspects of market management. And finally, marketing and outreach for events, partnership and cross-promotion take resources. Finding sponsors can be helpful in easing this burden, but all partners should always be willing and able to kick in whatever resources will be required to ensure a successful event. So before I move on to the next piece, I just wanted to open it up for some questions.
I don't have any additional questions at this time.
Great. So next we want to talk a little bit about transportation. And transportation we know is extremely important for all our market shoppers. So what I really like to think of this under is that there's really never enough parking at anyone's farmer's market. Typically public transportation or public parking may not be in close proximity to the market. And so availability of parking, access to transportation may be a deal breaker for those attending farmer's market. If a shopper must determine their farmer's market purchases based on how much they can carry, it may severely limit the amount of their purchases. This is often exacerbated for SNAP recipients who must also weigh whether they have the available funds for public transportation, not just for themselves, but also their children if they don't have access to childcare. Some markets may be set up on city streets or a public square parking lot that blocks public parking. So while it might have high visibility, non-market shoppers may get frustrated by the lack of parking on market days. Others that may have their own properties, such as the Syracuse Regional Market or the Ithaca Farmers Market, have access to parking for the event, for the market, but the crowds drawn to shop always far exceed the available parking. Flag bearers are not intimidated by the lack of parking, but to encourage the casual or non-market shopper, markets need to find ways to overcome these obstacles and encourage market participation. So one solution to this is what we call the Veggie Valet. We all know that shopper, the one that would rather try to carry all their purchases in from the store in one trip. But when we need to carry those bags a long distance, the walk may seem daunting. Add into that bringing children shopping with you or someone with mobility issues. and the customer might decide not to purchase more than they can safely carry with one hand. Enter the Veggie Valet. This was first encountered at the San Francisco Ferry Plaza Market. The market provides volunteers and wagons to help customers get their purchases back to their vehicle. Customers can either borrow the wagon or a volunteer can pull it for them. The market could institute a small charge for use or just request donations after each use. If your market has a volunteer program, this could be a great initiative for them to take on. Prior to implementation, you should consider conducting a customer service training. You will want to allow them to keep any tips they're given and always show your appreciation for their effort. You will also want to create a policy on how the program will work to ensure proper usage, that wagons aren't abused, properly returned after each use, and a maintenance schedule to ensure the safety of everyone. So when we think about the resources needed to implement something like this, one idea is to partner with local businesses or sponsorship or grant opportunities. Those are going to be very helpful to jumpstart the program. Purchasing that fleet of wagons will be costly in the beginning, but approaching a local business such as Tractor Supply, Agway, or other ag-related business may gain you either donations of wagons or funding to purchase. Another option might be local lenders with an ag lending department such as NBT Bank. Another solution is exploring public and private transportation options. So the idea behind this is that many farmers markets do not have public transportation nearby or just not enough parking available to turn over their spots in a timely fashion to accommodate their customers. So the first idea is working with your local public transportation office and see if they're willing to add a weekly stop to their route. In having that conversation with them, they may not be aware of the need or the demand. It's always important to stress you aren't asking for something for free. Riders would still be paying the regular price fare. Commitment, you're asking for a season-long commitment. It's going to take time for outreach and publicity to gain traction and create regular use for this new option. Colleges are another great option for this. Many students now live off campus or have access to kitchens in their dorms or common areas. They're often attracted to the vegan or vegetarian lifestyle and like to cook. They often have disposable income or perhaps SNAP benefits, which can be spent at the farmer's market. And it's a great way to convert a casual shopper as well as family members visiting. When we think about connecting with community partners, this can include community centers, senior centers, and housing authorities. They have relationships with those customers that you may be looking to target as potential shoppers at your market. Renting a bus, that's also an option on the table. If community partners, such as those managing low-income apartments, senior centers, community centers, are interested in helping bring their constituents to the market, then the idea of partnering to rent a bus that would stop at these locations and bring people to the market on a weekly or bi-weekly basis may be of interest. It may take significant funding if one of those organizations does not already have a vehicle that can be used, but some senior centers and others already transport their groups to other locations for outings, so this could be a great additional stop to add to their mix. Uber and Instacart. So what does the network look like locally for these two businesses, your location and where your customers are located? You want to think about if they deal with fresh produce or only ready-to-eat items. And this link that we're providing is from an example of California farmers markets working with Instacart, and we can share that link after the presentation is done. Encouraging ride sharing is always also a great opportunity. The farmers market, as we know, is a community party every week. If you're already meeting your friends and neighbors there, why not consider carpooling with them? It's environmentally friendly and also encourages more customers to participate in your market. Finally, if everything else fails, can you bring the market to the people? Mobile markets are becoming more popular in both urban centers and rural areas. Oftentimes, the products from farmers are aggregated by the market, and then it arrives at a location and time each week. Typically, the stops are short, 1 hour, as it moves from central location to central location to serve as many consumers as possible. This is especially important for those with lack of access to transportation and those with SNAP benefits. When we think about the support needed for this, there are three big pieces. The first is funding. Funding is absolutely necessary to create those publicity materials, whether it's flyers or social media. Without adequate funding behind it, a campaign won't get off the ground. This can be a great option for local sponsorship, as public transportation is everywhere, and the sponsor will gain huge recognition for their participation in this effort. The time necessary to meet with transportation and or our community partners should not be understated. This will not be a one-time conversation or commitment. Planning and creating a transportation route is not as easy as we might all think. If it is being integrated into existing routes, considerations will need to be made for how it fits into the existing market schedule, where drop-off and pickup can occur that is safest for the people and the transportation vehicle, and how frequently this will happen during market day. And then finally, funds to support transportation are also a necessity if this will be a new route and not being integrated into an existing route. Or if a vehicle needs to be found, purchased, rented, etc. Local lenders or health insurance companies may be interested in partnership. You will always want to be prepared with the value add for that business in terms of their marketing benefit. So here we just wanted to share a few pictures of two options. The first is a mobile market that's going from location to location, as we talked about earlier, bringing the market to the people. And then finally, the other picture is showing a trolley system that is bringing people from parking that's further out closer to the market to help encourage people to be utilizing parking that's not so close to the market. So with that, we just wanted to remind all of you that the toolkit is available online for free with a number of great examples to deal with the issues and attitudes of customers towards farmers markets. It gives real life examples that have proven effective. But the idea of the toolkit is not just to give you ideas to imitate in your markets, but to help you become aware of consumer responses to farmers markets and stimulate your own creativity and develop ideas that are your community and your farmers. And so with that, I'd like to say thank you and open it up for any final questions.
Okay, we do have a few questions. The first one is, where can we buy Veggie Valets and how much do they cost?
I know that we typically say that we've seen them out west in California. Perhaps, Diane, I'm not sure if you've seen them any other places. I would think go on eBay or something.
Typically, they're just wagons. So anywhere you can buy a wagon. I know I've seen them at Central Tractor. I would guess you can probably find them also places like Target or that. So it's just a wagon. And the cost can be anywhere from, $50 each to a couple hundred, depending on the size and the construction.
Great.
Let's see. Just a thought, when you're putting a market map on an email blast or a web page, include all possible parking options. If parking is far away, volunteers can hold purchases till customers can stop by with the vehicle.
Yes, that is a good idea.
And I think we have seen, Saratoga Farmers Market does that. They have volunteers that will hold packages for customer pickup. Let's see, every suggestion for improvement in customer engagement entails additional time demands on market volunteers. Any ideas for how to recruit new people so we don't overload the existing group?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a concern, is that, all of these suggestions typically may have a need for volunteers or outside labor. And so at that point, I think one thing that we really want to stress with this toolkit is that we think it's important to pick one or two pieces that you think will have the most impact, implement those, see what the impact is, and perhaps add a few more. The suggestion is not that everyone should do everything within the toolkit. So if there are programs that you're already doing that you feel are effective, then perhaps looking at beefing those up or adding another aspect to them. It may also be an opportunity to find some additional volunteers if you have a program that's well defined with college students or retired seniors who are looking for a way to keep busy and give back.
I think another option would be to check into your local high schools, check in with the guidance counselors and the office staff. A lot of high schools now require community action or community participation in order to graduate. So you might be able to find some volunteers that way. Let's see, we have to remove all of our equipment each week, and we found that the foldable carts work well to load and unload so that we can easily remove them at the end of the day. And we labeled ours Market Valet. Oh, here's another good suggestion. Try landscape supply companies for Veggie Valet type wagons such as A.M. Leonard. That's a great suggestion. I have seen them in those kind of catalogs.
Yes, that is a good idea.
I don't see any additional questions. So if you have one, please get them typed in so we can answer them for you. In the meantime, I do want to let you know that this presentation is being recorded, so it will be up on the Federation website in the next couple of days, so you can go back and refer to different pieces of it if you want to listen again. We also will be uploading the slides at the same time, so if you just want to look at the slides, you can do that as well. And our next presentation in the series is next Tuesday. Yes, next Tuesday, the 24th, where we will be talking about customer attitudes towards farmers markets. And I am not seeing any additional questions. So with that, I want to thank all of you for your participation today. I know it's a hectic time for all of us as we're trying to deal with this pandemic in both our personal and our work lives. So I do want to thank you all for participating today, and thank you, Laura, for a great presentation.
Great. Thank you, all of you. Thanks for the good questions and suggestions. This is how we all learn about what's going on and more examples that we can add to our repertoire of helping everyone stay successful and find some effective ways to address these challenges.
Have a good rest of your day.